Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.
My friends and I always tune into the Todd Levitt Law Show. Todd is entertaining, informative, and always delivers the goods.
Todd might not tell you what you want to hear, but he's going to tell you what you need to hear. And all you got to do is listen.
Hold on, Todd. Don't let go. It's time for the Todd L. Levitt Law Show.
Welcome to the Todd L. Levitt Marijuana Law Podcast. Good morning, good evening, and good night. I'm yours truly, Attorney Todd L. Levitt, broadcasting and podcasting from the middle of the mitten, a beautiful green nutrient field, with my good friend Craig Russell, the muscle, in the Black Diamond Group mothership, floating around the universe on planet Earth. Craig, how you doing, brother?
We are not only floating around the universe, but you can hear us in every corner of the universe. We're in 3 or 4 different continents. You can hear this show in over 30 countries, including the United States and every state in the Union. But we podcast all over the place. We're on iHeart. We're on SoundCloud. We're on TuneIn. We're on every kind of in there is and every kind of sound thing there is. You can find us. And, of course, on 98.5 UPS here in Central and Northern Michigan. I'm good, Todd. Had a good Father's Day. The weather's finally starting to turn a little nicer. Getting ready for, like, summer for real. Are you? Are you all ready for summer?
I've been ready for summer. This has got to be the worst spring, summer, although summer's just starting, that I've ever experienced as either an adult or in my youth. I mean, the weather's just been crap. I mean, we cannot get 3 days of sun and warm weather.
I know it's hard to dry things out. It's hard to get things to grow. It's been a rough spring, but summer's finally here. It just became summer.
It's not hard to get things to grow. You just got to do it indoors.
Well,
Craig.
Okay, yes, that's true. Who am I talking to? What do I know? What do I know? Friday was the Friday was the longest day of the year. It's all downhill now to November before we get the day short. But let's not think about that. Let's think about all the sunlight. Let's think about summer. Let's think about walking outside with your pets. This is our special pet edition? Is that what we're talking about today?
I mean, yeah, we're going to be talking about pets, and of course, we've got plenty of cannabis conversation to get to. We have a 1980s dance party update. We opened the show with, Morrissey, a.k.a. The Smiths, from, one of my all-time favorite English rockers from the English wave that hit the country back in the day.
The new wave back in the 80s, the British new wave, Morrissey and the Smiths. If you were in high school in 1984 and were wearing black turtlenecks and had black mascara on and were wearing combat boots, you were listening to Morrissey and the Smiths. That's all there was to it.
Yeah, but aside from the dance clubs and the rock clubs, so we hung out back in the 80s in both rock clubs, the Ritz, Harpo's, these great concert venues where they had all the hair bands that were up and coming that would stop in. Bittersweet Alley, Seduce, you had Poison come through early on, and Rat. And then when we weren't at those, rock clubs, as I've mentioned, week in and week out, we were at Linolte's, or when we were younger, the Premier Center, My Place. This is prior to coming to Central Michigan University and then, just destroying it for 5 years and in a blur. But having, in some of these clubs we would frequent, Yeah, you're correct. We would frequent some clubs that were off the map where everybody, here was spiked up.
Oh,
and
yeah.
wearing belts around their neck, and they would be playing Morrissey and the Smiths and whatnot. But his voice is so pure. We've had a request from some of our listeners to play Morrissey and the Smiths at our 1980s dance party.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can't forget that. The 1980s dance party that is going to happen sometime in the future, somewhere. We just don't know where or when yet, but it will happen. I guarantee it.
It absolutely will happen. So, but we are a law show. I'm attorney Todd L. Levitt, and you are Craig Russell, the hustle, the muscle, the man. And we come to each and every Sunday morning right here on 98.5 WUPS. And we broadcast, as you said, on just about every single podcasting platform. I do practice law. I often will run into somebody and says, "Are you just on the radio?" And I says, "Absolutely not." Last week, I was in court in Tawas, which is on the sunny side of the mitten where the sun rises. And big shout out to everyone in Tawas. Not just the people from Tawas and those who have moved there, but the court, the judge is great, the prosecutors. Everybody is just really great to work with up there. And so if my clients are happy, then I'm happy. So big shout out to everyone in Tawas. I was in Roscommon a few times. Everyone does a great job in Roscommon. Then I had to head over to Clare County. Love Clare County. I love practicing in Clare County. And I currently have some cases all the way on the west side of the state, Craig, in Benzie County.
Oh, okay.
And a couple in Grand Traverse. So I'm all over the state. I just don't practice driver's license restoration, which I am that guy. I'm also a criminal defense attorney. And I do field questions from time to time from listeners that have absolutely nothing to do with my law practice. And for whatever reason this week, it was all about animals. People were having all kinds of problems with their pets.
I wonder why that is this time. Maybe it's because it's starting to finally get warmer and getting to be a little summer-like. Maybe they're out with their pets more often. When we're all cooped up inside and it's snowing and blowing, you barely let the dog out to do what it's got to do, and then you get it right back inside. But now it's getting to be that time of year. I've heard more dogs barking in the neighborhood in the past couple of weeks now that people are out more often. So I bet there's probably more dog issues going on in pets in general. And we'll get to some of that today on the show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the issues and questions that arose this past week was an individual had lost a pet, cat, dog. In this case, it was a cat. And another individual found the cat. That individual who found the cat did everything he or she could to post and inform anyone and everyone that would listen that they had this cat. So there's some things that transpired next, and someone else ended up adopting the cat from this individual who found the cat. But then the owner of the cat caught wind of this finally and wanted the cat back. So the question is for the listening audience, in that scenario where somebody's cat took off, somebody else found it, a third party wanted to adopt it and did so. Now the original owner wants the cat back. And so the question was, from my perspective as an attorney, is what should the outcome be here? So we're going to talk about that when we come back from break, and also lots of other things to talk about.
Yeah, like there's some more marijuana and cannabis news. There's a new report out that Michigan is going to rival some of the bigger West Coast states when it comes to recreational cannabis production, and also there's some competition from a state very close to Michigan that might be medicinal here soon, and might also be recreational soon too. We'll talk about that and lots of other stuff, plus an 80s dance party update. Have we gotten word from anybody where this party is going to be at yet?
We have not gotten word, but if there's any listeners out there in any town across the great state of Michigan that want to host the 1980s dance party, let us know. Get a hold of us. Send me an email at centralmichiganlawyer@gmail.com, all spelled out, and we'll consider bringing a 1980s dance party to your local community. We're looking for a theater venue that will rival some of the theaters and clubs that we all went to in our youth. Now, there's a lot of listeners who never grew up in the city and didn't have the benefit of going to these awesome dance clubs. And so that's why we keep getting questions. Hey, are you going to have square dancing and play some country music at your 1980s dance party? I love country music. I'm just going to disclose that right now. I do often listen to country music. I like classic country. I mean, going way back. I mean, way back to Hank Williams. You know who that is, Craig, right?
Yeah,
Hank Williams.
I know who that is. Yep, classic country right there.
And Hank Williams had a son. You knew that, right?
Hank Williams Jr., sure.
Of course, if Hank Williams had a son, that's an easy guess that it may be Hank Williams Jr. But I'll tell you one thing. If Hank Williams Jr. would come and play, a show for us, I would just set aside the 1980s dance party for Hank Williams Jr. any day of the freaking week, or George Thorogood and the Destroyers. How about, Craig, look, you run the show. How about you get Black Diamond Group to bring George Thorogood and the Destroyers here?
George Thorogood and Hank Williams Jr. Now, that'd be a show. You'd put aside the 80s dance party for those two, I'm guessing.
I would never talk about it again. I drink alone.
Okay.
I love that song.
Hey, we'll try and
Bad
figure
to the bone.
What if somebody, say, in Brookings, South Dakota, wants us to come and do the dance party there? Will we go there, or does it just have to be in Michigan?
I mean, let's pack up. Let's go. Let's go to South Dakota. I've never been to South Dakota, but obviously it has to be in Michigan because, the bulk of our listening audience is in Michigan, albeit this is a podcast and we have people listening from all over the country.
Yeah, what about in California? What about in Vistachula, California, if they wanted us to come and do it? We could do a little marijuana talk.
I have no idea where that's at, although no idea where that's at.
By San Diego. It's nice.
Well, when I was a kid, I had some relatives in SoCal, and I used to hang out at Zuma Beach and do some surfing and boogie boarding, and I had orange and black hair with an earring. This is about circa 1981, 82, man. Right before I graduated high school. Zuma Beach, my man. And then we'd go hang out at UCLA, otherwise known as UCLA in Westwood, California. I called UCLA. So seriously, SoCal, baby. SoCal all the way. I
have to find pictures of you with orange and black and hair and with an earring and stuff. I have to find that.
Yeah. I'm bringing back the pinky ring also. Hey, we have to go to break, don't we?
Yes, we do. We have to go to break. When we come back, we'll talk more about some of the pet disputes and some marijuana stuff and some other law things on this law show. The Todd L. Levitt Law Show will be right back. The Todd L. Levitt Law Show thanks you for listening to our podcast. If you have a business you think people would want to hear about, the Todd L. Levitt Law Show accepts advertising. We can promote your business to a very specialized, targeted audience. Any size commitment and any budget. Email toddlevittlawshow@gmail.com for more information about sponsoring and advertising on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show podcast.
Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt 1980s dance party in the middle of a beautiful green nutrient field, and it's legal for the dance party. Can you imagine the 1980s dance party? This will be a private party, so let the cannabis flow, folks. Let the cannabis flow. It's a private party, private club. We're locking the doors. We're going to check IDs, and we're going to toke it and smoke it and just destroy it 1980s style. And we came back strong with Morrissey Suedehead right now because, look, in 1980s, we had all kinds of music, and people out there, they want us to play all kinds of music. But, Craig, we have a cat story to get to.
Yeah, you started to touch on it a little bit before in the first segment of the show about somebody. So is it they lost their cat, and then somebody found it, and then it died and adopted by somebody else? Tell the story again. Set it up again.
Okay, somebody lost their cat. The cat was found, let's say, 2 weeks later by somebody.
Okay.
The person that found the cat did everything he or she could to post it on Facebook and inform certain pet societies, humane society within the community in which he or she lives in, and nobody came forward for the first 2 weeks. So that person found a third party who was interested in taking the cat and providing a good home for the cat. Well, the original owner of the cat eventually was notified somehow, I don't know the entire facts of the case, approached the person that found it and said, hey, I want my cat back. And that person said, but wait a minute. The cat's no longer here. There's another person that adopted the cat. Well, a lawyer got involved on behalf of the cat owner. And I received a call, and I'm not naming names. I'm not breaching any confidentiality as to what should the person do who originally found the cat. Does the person inform the owner who the third party is so the cat owner can get the cat back? Or because 2 weeks elapsed and the cat is considered lost, does the homeowner have any claim to the pet? That's the issue. What say you, Craig?
Well, my question would be, what is much similar to a statute of limitations, how long does a cat have to be lost before it's not owned by the original owner anymore? Is there a time period?
Doesn't exist.
Okay,
there is no time period.
Then I would say
does not exist.
Then I would say the original cat owner has the rights back to their cat. If they can prove it's their cat, I say they get the cat back.
So what's the moral issue? What's the legal issue here? Again, there's different types of, a cat, such as a dog, as with other pets, whether it's a cow or a llama or, ferrets, snakes. People have all kinds of different pets. But pets are a member of our family. And I'll tell you right now, here's my opinion. Let's talk about a legal point of view. I wouldn't consider a pet personal property because, Craig, there's misplaced property. You misplace something that you own. There's people lose things, such as a cat is lost, although I don't consider a cat personal property. Or you abandon property, such as garbage. When you take your garbage and put it on the corner in front of your residence, anybody can come up to that abandoned property that's in the garbage and go through it and take whatever is in there without fear of prosecution. So they don't have to fear that they're committing larceny from a building, because larceny from a building is a felony. So this cat was not abandoned that we know of because the homeowner wanted it back. It wasn't misplaced because obviously you're not going to take a cat somewhere and then misplace the cat. The cat was lost. Okay, so the question is, the cat was lost. You wanted to know, is there a statute of limitations on pets, disappearing? Absolutely not. My opinion is that the owner of the cat has every right to have that cat back. That cat belongs to the owner, and forget the law that may or may not apply, because I don't believe any law applies in this case. That cat belongs to the owner, and that's a member of the family. And I'll be damned if one of my pets got loose and a third party was in possession of one of my pets. I mean, I'll scorch earth to get my pet back. And who wouldn't out there? So I told this individual who contacted my office, I said, look, you're going to get dragged into court. You're going to end up with all kinds of fees. You could end up with attorney fees on behalf of the owner of the cat who's trying to get the cat back, because you have the information who the third party is and you're refusing to disclose it or turn it over to the attorney. Do you really want to put you and your family through all that? So I will say this, that I'm pretty confident that the individual who lost the cat, as this show has taken place, has the cat back.
I would hope so, because the main difference when you were talking about there's the different types of losing personal property, or if you abandon something, it's not like your garbage gets up and walks out of your house, or if you open the door, the garbage runs away. That's the difference in this situation. When a cat is lost, unless you take the cat 10 miles from your house and just dump it out, then you're abandoning it. If the cat escapes out of the house, that is something you didn't want to happen. You didn't want the cat to leave. Your garbage or personal property doesn't get up and just walk away. So I would think for sure that person gets the cat back. The original owner gets the cat back if they want the cat back. I don't think the second person
Correct.
has the right to do it.
You've owned pets, right?
Sure.
I mean, you've had hamsters, a lot of hamsters. You've had gerbils, a lot of gerbils.
Wait a minute. Where are you getting this from? Do I look like Richard Gere? Stop it. Stop it.
Oh, I thought you loved gerbils. Come on,
Not
Craig.
at all. No.
Okay, but you've had pets,
Sure.
correct?
Sure.
If your pet took off for whatever reason, and you didn't have a chip in that pet, wouldn't you scorch earth to get that pet back?
Of course. Of course. But that's the difference between a pet and a bag of garbage. You set a bag of garbage out by the side of the road and somebody can go through it because you are abandoning it. You are leaving that there. You're not, unless you are just dumping the cat somewhere and you don't want it back, you are not doing that. It's not like your other personal property can get up and walk away on its own. The cat can.
You know what's really sad is people do abandon pets all the time. I mean, it's just really a sad fact that, people, an animal, someone can no longer afford to take care of themselves and or the pet. And so they'll just drive the pet off somewhere and let it roam on a road till somebody finds it. I mean, the pounds are filled with these kind of pets. In fact, we do have somebody that can also chime in and answer the question in regards to, the question is, how do you categorize a pet? Is it personal property? Is it consumer property? Is it some other type of property? Is it real property? Of course not. So how do you categorize a pet? And so we have someone who's going to join us right now, Craig.
And that would be Steve Lehto joining us, Steve, in the Mothership. Mr. Lehto, how are you?
Yes, attorney Steve Lehto.
It's good to be here.
So here's the deal, Steve. We have this story. Someone called up Todd's office. Somebody lost their cat. Cat ran off, and cat is lost. Somebody finds the cat. Second party finds the cat, puts up notices on Facebook, puts up flyers, tries to find the original of the cat, can't do it. A couple of weeks go by, person says, this cat is obviously mine now, and it finds a third person who wants to adopt the cat. That third person adopts the cat. All of a sudden, days after the cat is adopted, the original owner comes back and says, hey, I see you have my cat. I want my cat back. And that person's like, well, we've adopted the cat out. Who gets the cat?
No. The person that found the cat was notified by an attorney for the owner of the cat. The owner did not yet know who the third party was.
Okay.
And I said, Steve, that I don't know any law offhand. One, I don't practice cat animal law. But two, we were talking about lost, abandoned, or misplaced property. I mean, obviously, you can consider an animal personal property. I mean, I consider it like a member of the family, so it's hard to distinguish it as personal property. But I would scorch earth to get my animal back. So, Steve, legally, how do you see this case?
Yeah, and I agree with you. And here's the interesting thing. There's cat people and there's dog people. And some people will tell you you don't own a cat. You merely know a cat. Cats do crazy stuff. If the cat goes out in the wild, it may or may not come back to you. Doesn't mean it doesn't love you. It just means that time's not right. But you're right. Generally speaking, the courts tend to view animals like they're goods or property. But we all know it's a special class of property because a family pet is basically like a part of the family. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like this was litigated, that a court might say, something, the original owner, as long as they were diligent on some level to try to find their cat, should get the cat back. The only recourse I think people number 2 and 3 in this chain would possibly have a claim for is if they spent money on the cat, they might be able to get reimbursed for it. But it seems to me the cat should go back to the original owner.
Well, and I would say if the person who found the cat who then adopted it to somebody else, maybe that person paid them $50 or $100 for the cat, that person should give that money at least back to the owner 3, and owner 3 should give the money back, give the cat back to the original owner.
Yeah, I would think so too. And again, I think most courts would look at this and go, something, the cat should go back to the original person who had it. And if anything has to actually happen other than that, it's possibly reimbursement for the care or the medicine, or they took it to a vet or anything like that, or they bought a cat license for it or something, possibly reimbursement for those kinds of out-of-pocket expenses, because you wouldn't want the people who took care of the cat to come out behind either. But it's, obviously I think the equities, as we'd say, would go towards the original owner getting the cat back.
And I think that's all the original owner really would want, is to get their pet back. Unless they abandon it, then it's a totally different story. If they just drove 10 miles from house.
Yeah, because, what if they abandoned it and then, exactly. Because they could have abandoned it, Steve, and then changed their mind after they saw it online and go, oh, no, I miss little foo-foo, fluffy ball, whatever cats. I always had dogs.
I
don't even know how to name a cat.
Yeah, this
Felix? I think I would name my cat Felix. That's the only cat I know. What's that?
Right. I said this cat could be the new grumpy cat.
Craig had gerbils.
I did not have gerbils. God. All right, we got to take a break. Hey, Lehto, can you hang around for another second?
Absolutely.
We'll talk to you about stuff. All right, we got Steve Lehto in the house. We'll be back on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. The Todd L. Levitt Law Show thanks you for listening to our podcast. If you have a business you think people would want to hear about, the Todd L. Levitt Law Show accepts advertising. We can promote your business to a very specialized, targeted audience. Any size commitment and any budget. Email toddlevittlawshow@gmail.com for more information about sponsoring and advertising on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show podcast.
welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show, broadcasting and podcasting, talking about pets with my co-host, the handsome and talented Craig Russell, the muscle in the middle of the mitten in a beautiful nutrient field in the Black Diamond Group Mothership. In the mothership is one of my closest friends, one of my oldest best friends, attorney Steve Lehto. You can find him all over planet Earth on YouTube. He's got a YouTube page that's Steve Lehto, Lehto. Please subscribe to his channel. He's got some of the most informative, educational, legal topics, videos on automobile issues and all kind. I'll let Steve explain. But recently, Steve, you just posted a new video. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I wrote a book about Douglas Houghton, who's the guy that he named everything after, including, like, say, Houghton Lake.
Sure.
And so Douglas Houghton explored the state in the 1830s and 1840s, and at one point he went up the Tequamanon River by canoe, and I happened to have a motorized 17-foot aluminum Grumman canoe. So last week, a friend of mine and I dropped that motorized canoe at the mouth of the Tequamanon River and went all the way up to the lower falls, 16 miles, just going through the wilderness. We saw bald eagles, we saw mergansers, we saw all kinds of stuff. And if you've seen the area, you know that the Tequamanon area is beautiful, glassy, smooth water as far as the eye could see. It was unbelievable. Went up, checked out the lower falls, motored around a little bit up there and then turned around and came back. So we did 32 miles on the river in one day. It was absolutely gorgeous. I shot video of it and I posted it on my channel, and people seem to enjoy that. So, there's nothing that can beat the woods of the Upper Peninsula.
Hey, Steve, I've got a question for you.
It's beautiful.
Have you ever been in the Asaba River Canoe Marathon? Have you ever done the marathon?
No. I've never paddled a canoe.
Wait, Craig,
seriously.
Well, okay.
Did you just hear he had a motor on his canoe? Did you miss that part? He had a motor on his canoe.
But I also know he does a lot of canoeing and stuff.
Yeah,
if nothing more, have you ever been to it? Have you ever seen the marathon?
I've seen it, and actually, a friend of mine was the guy who did the play-by-play for it for on television for the longest time. But I've never been in it. I'm not that into competitive canoeing. I like to get out there and just lollygag my way around.
Because we do at 98.5, we run live coverage of the marathon all night long. It starts at 9 o'clock in Grayling and goes all the way to Skoda. If nothing more, that would be something to write a book about. There's a lot of interesting people who have been in that race. It's part of a big. There's it's a big 3 different race things. It's the Triple Crown of canoe racing. It's a big deal for canoe racers.
Yeah,
especially
it's a beautiful river too. Yeah.
Yes, it is very beautiful. So we were talking about pets in the last 2 segments, and Todd, you had another story or another issue with people with pets. This time, was it boyfriend, girlfriend, or were they a married couple who had a pet?
Well, I've had calls on both. I'm a criminal defense attorney, but I get all these calls lately about pets. Now, a married couple getting divorced, who gets the pet? And this is an issue that has been going on for decades with couples and boyfriends and girlfriends.
Right.
Who gets the pet? Is it the if you're married? Here's an example. If you're married, and the husband goes and picks the pet up from wherever or whomever you get the pet from. Just because the husband picks up the pet, the husband and wife raise it together. 6 years later, Steve, what happens to the pet?
Well, and
they get
here's
divorced?
the thing. Yeah, we tend to think of pets as part of the family, but courts for the longest time were treating pets like their property, like anything else. But the courts now kind of recognize that, a pet is really, it's not quite a child, but it's as close as you can get. So what you're often seeing these days, and I've seen divorce decrees, that's the actual judgment entered by the court that lays out who gets what. I've actually seen sections in there on custody of who gets the pet, or how the visitation works, or who's going to pay for the care of the pet or the medical bills of the pet. And I've actually seen it before. They say, we're going to split custody. We're going to go back and forth. And I don't think it's as painful for a dog as it is for a child to bounce back and forth between parents, But I've seen them actually.
I would like to see the pet. Yeah, I'd like to see the pet stay. I mean, each case is case by case. Each facts are different per case. But obviously, if I'm a young child, and it's 2 things. One, it's devastating that your mother and father are separated, or if they've never been married, but you're still being raised by the 2 parents. And then it's even just as, to add on to that and to pile on, if one parent wants to take the pet away from the custodial parent, now the kids are losing not only their parents that are together, but they're losing that beloved pet that they've known if they're, young kids or even older kids, but typically for younger kids, It's devastating. So that's a big issue.
Yeah, I suspect a lot of courts will actually take that into consideration, and so they'll probably say things like, the pet will stay wherever the child is staying. So the child's with the mother, the pet's there too, and the child goes to the father, and it brings the pet along, that kind of thing. So, but it's just interesting because courts are finally recognizing this. And years ago, they just pretty much said, well, a pet is a piece of property, and you can buy a dog, go down to the pound and flip them a couple bucks and you get a dog. I mean, that's not how it is. You can't put a price tag on a family pet.
Now, do you think it's a situation where...
And it could be any kind of pet, not just a dog and cat. Sorry, Craig. Go ahead.
Right.
Do you think it's a situation, let's say guy has a dog, meets a girl, they end up getting married and getting together, but the dog was originally the guy's to begin with. Do you think that the then girlfriend, soon-to-be wife, and then ex-wife has any kind of a say in the dog at that point if the man brought the dog in, or vice versa?
Believe it or not, one of the things...
I say no.
Well, and here's what it's probably going to boil down to is whether or not it was acquired during the marriage, because Michigan's a community property state. And so I think in that respect, if the man came into the marriage with the dog, he's going to be able to make the argument, say, hey, that dog is mine, even though we got married. But the bigger problem is that a lot of couples will get together, they have kids, then they get a dog. That dog is acquired during the marriage, where each parent has the right to make a claim for the dog. And I think at that point, I think smart parents would actually say, but what's the best thing for the children involved, especially because they do tend to get more attached to the dogs and cats than at least they play a bigger role in their lives than they do in the adults, I think.
And then if you don't have a marriage,
what about boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It gets murkier.
Boyfriend and girlfriend.
Boyfriend.
Or what about two guys get married? I mean, who knows?
Sure.
This is a modern society we're in, right?
True. No, it's very true. But what if there's not a marriage? What if it's just boyfriend girlfriend? They're together for 3-4 years. Is 7 years common law marriage or whatever that really is?
What's going to happen in a situation like that is whoever was the one who got the dog, and you're right, though, a dispute's going to arise. Let's suppose that you and your girlfriend go to the pound and pick out a dog. Believe it or not, it's going to boil down to whose money was used to buy the dog or to actually pay the fees. And then of course, let's suppose they both put the money in 50-50. At that point, it's a nightmare. Flip a coin,
Yeah.
Boy. Yeah, but no, we're talking with attorney Steve Lehto here on the Todd Levitt Law Show with Craig Russell, the Muscle. But Lehto, here's the issue. So boyfriend and girlfriend purchase a dog or a cat. The boyfriend pays, or let's say the girlfriend pays, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. The one, and now let's say the boyfriend pays, but it's residing in the girlfriend's house or apartment. And let's say these are college students. If the boyfriend's never around, all of a sudden they break up, and he says, "Hey, a year later, I want my dog back. I'm the one that paid." So what side is the law on in that case? Because we're in a college town here in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, and one of the worst things that I see happen is students acquiring pets while they're in college. And a lot of it is a boyfriend and girlfriend whose relationship is going sour, and adults do this too, and they feel, let's get a pet, it'll bring us closer together, just like we've heard for decades. There's couples who are struggling, so they think if they have a kid, it'll bring them back together.
Right.
But I've seen a lot of that in a college town, and I always recommend never, ever, if you're a student, acquire a pet. And, it's just not right what happens to those pets.
Well, and I do think that, again, a lot of this stuff doesn't end up in court. So, there's that. But if somebody were to go to court and actually file a legal action and say, I want this dog, then the judge would be forced to look at, okay, fine, who can make the best claim for it? Who put the money up for it? Who spent the most time caring for it? Who's been the one who took it to the vet? Who's been the one who paid for the vet bills? And unfortunately, there's not going to be a bright line answer to this. And so I think, Todd, you're right. In hindsight, your best bet would be to not do it. And of course, but that no one ever comes to us before they screw up. As attorneys, we only hear about the accidents after they've happened. So.
Hey, they always say it, hindsight's 20/20. So,
hey, Steve, attorney Steve Lehto, we got some more questions for you. But how can the listeners? I mean, they've heard you week in and week out. You even filled in for me one week, and I love it. Love you for that. How can they get in contact with all of your social media?
Easiest thing to do is find me on YouTube. Just look up Steve Lehto, 2 words, Steve. Last name Lehto. Or you can run me through Google. You'll find me. I've got a website. But if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll find everything there and all my contact information and videos of me talking about all kinds of crazy stuff.
What kind of law have you practiced for more than 2 decades?
Well, I specialize in lemon law, which is defective automobiles, but I do a lot of consumer products and a lot of issues involving things that people have bought that didn't turn out as well as they would have liked. And I do some traffic stuff, and I'm sure you do too. In fact, I've been in court with you before, standing in the hallway talking before we go in front of the judge. And I've done everything from traffic tickets to Woodward Dream Cruise to drunk driving tickets to drag racing tickets, stuff like that. I don't do a lot of heavy criminal stuff, mainly traffic stuff, but also just a lot of litigation involving defective automobiles.
Hey, I've got a question for you, Steve. Have you ever had a situation where you had somebody who got a traffic ticket and later it was found out, or they got into an accident and later it was found out it was because the car had a lemon law issue? Have you ever combined those two before?
No, that's more of a product liability issue, and I've never actually dealt with product liability. Michigan's a very, very strange state when it comes to product liability. I primarily just go with the lemon law, which is somebody bought a brand new vehicle and it's got some problem that cannot be fixed. And they figure that out pretty quickly because they take it back in 3, 4, 5 times and the dealership says, hey, look, we can't fix it. And I get the vehicles bought back. And most of the time, they're not that safety related. Once in a while you do, but for the most part, it's just, the thing leaks or the thing stalls or it won't start or the battery goes dead, that kind of stuff.
Also, you've written books, you've appeared on TV, national talk shows. You're going to be featured. We talked about this, was it last week, Craig, or the week before? Lehto is going to be in New York just destroying the airwaves as a DJ. When is that taking place, Lehto?
That's taking place on a week from Friday. I'm going to be at WLLW, The Wall, 101.7 in Geneva, New York, where their slogan is, shut up and rock.
Shut up and rock.
And we found out
hey, Lehto.
Finger Lakes Radio, we found out there's a website you can go and actually listen to you rocking it out. And I just put it together. 101.7 The Wall, Pink Floyd, classic rock. I mean, that's what it all makes sense.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so what happened was I have a channel on YouTube, and I've been doing videos for the longest time, and behind me there's a shelf of microphones. And I put those there as a reminder of when I used to be a disc jockey, disc jockey before I went to law school. And so one day I just said, hey, if anybody in the audience knows somebody at a radio station where I can come in and be a DJ for one day, I don't care where it is in North America, I'll come to you. I just want to come in and be a DJ. You don't have to pay me. It's just for fun. It's an old guy wanting to go back and revisit those happy days. And a guy called me, goes, dude, you're on. When can you be here? And I said, boom, let's schedule it now.
Well, Steve, we're throwing a 1980s dance party. We would love to invite you as one of our special guests to assist Craig and I in just destroying it with 1980s dance music. But we don't have a venue yet, so we're looking for a venue.
Or a day.
We know a couple things. Yeah, no square dancing, no disco, no limbo. We're not going to be doing a limbo. No hustle. You can bring a yo-yo. Just don't try to walk the dog and hit someone's noggin. But Lehto, we opened up the show today and we've been playing Morrissey, Suede Head all morning here. But we want you at our dance party for sure.
Hey, I'm there. Yeah, I'm there. I was spinning the songs, the tunes. I started in radio in 1981, and I was doing a disc jockey thing till 1989 when I went to law school. So the 80s were the decade that I know the music the best of.
80s dance party. That's right up your alley, isn't it?
Exactly.
So there we go. Hey, we got to take a break on the Todd Levitt Law Show. We'll be back. Steve, you can stick around for one more segment with us?
Sure.
All right, we'll be back. The Todd Levitt Law Show thanks you for listening to our podcast. If you have a business you think people would want to hear about, the Todd Levitt Law Show accepts advertising. We can promote your business to a very specialized, targeted audience. Any size commitment and any budget. Email toddlevittlawshow@gmail.com for more information about sponsoring and advertising on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show podcast.
And why
Hey, you're listening to Todd L. Levitt Law Show from the center of the lower peninsula of Michigan, surrounded by lovely fields of some kind of organic material. And it's the best legal advice you will hear today because I am in the studio with you. My name is Steve Lehto, but my dear buddy Todd L. Levitt, and of course, Craig the Russell, the Muscle, is the one running the board for us. Hey guys, what's going on?
Stevie in the mothership. Hey, during break, we were talking about doing some shredding because you and I started off as close friends like 25 years ago, mountain biking. Yeah. I'm going to ride the Vasa today. I invited you to go with me. I'm meeting up with Dave Cade up there. And you said it's too short of notice, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to call my buddy Ghazi Alec, a great attorney, Alec and Jenkins. Ghazi, we love you, Ghazi, to get an order of visitation just to spend time with you. I mean, what do I have to do to spend time with you on a single track, Lehto?
Just a little more notice. My schedule, my dance card is busy these days, so you just gotta get.
Did you say dance card?
Yeah, a little more notice. That's all.
Oh, yeah, and what are you doing these days there, Steve Lehto? Not only are you going to be rocking it out in the Finger Lakes in New York, DJing at 1017 The Wall, but what else is on your docket these days? Are you seeing Jay Leno anytime soon, or you're writing another book?
No, not really, but I'm working on a couple different projects, different writing projects. It's kind of a complicated story, but I tried to do a canoe trip last year that didn't quite happen. And I realized later that there's actually a story there in how it didn't happen. So I'm writing a memoir about my canoe trip that I didn't take.
Was this the canoe trip you were going to go all the way around Lake Superior, and was that the trip?
I was going to go try to cross Lake Superior and then down Lake Huron, but there was a storm that hit the Keweenaw Peninsula last summer on Father's Day weekend, and it literally knocked buildings off their foundations. It put tons of debris out in the lake. And the day I showed up to start, there were boating advisories and warnings, literally stay off the lake. And so I thought, I've got so much time invested in this, I've got to at least try. And my brother and I went out, we covered about 25 miles, and it was so obviously dangerous and something no one should be doing at that time that we threw in the towel. But it's actually a funny story, and that's one of the reasons I did the Tequamanon River last week. Was I wanted to go back out and kind of, now that the water's cleared up, do just a few little short legs to kind of get a feel for what I could have done last year. But I'm writing a memoir about that, which I hope to have written by this fall.
And so then there's the question, are you going to try and do that big canoe trip again?
I can't. I spent 3 years planning it. I had people lined up for the different weeks. I had all the logistics done. I had a chase vehicle. I put tons of money into it. And when that storm hit, it kind of all went down the drain. And to try to put that back together again, it would literally take me 2 or 3 more years. And so at this point, I don't think I can do it.
Can we just get together and go ride a teeter-totter or something, Lehto? I mean, what do I have to do to go out and spend time with you, man? I mean, we used to play basketball. We used to go biking. I mean, I need a court order for visitation. I'm willing to pay child support to your family to spend time with you. I know we're adult men here, Lehto, but come on, you're one of my boys. Let's do something.
But Todd, I told you when I was going on my canoe trip last week, I said to you, I said, hey Todd, I'm going up north, and you said, so am I. And I said, great, I'll see you on Friday. And you said, oh, I'm going to be there Saturday. So I think I was heading south on 75 as you were heading north. So we did pass each other's zones of influence, and I suspect that if we'd known it, we could have waved. So we were within 100 yards of each other.
All right. That satisfies my brother time there with Steve Lehto. Great attorney at law, the best consumer lemon lawyer in the country. Lehto, we'd love having you on the show on the mothership, for sure.
I love being here.
We appreciate it. Hey, Steve, one more time, how can people find you online?
Just look for me on YouTube, Steve Lehto, last name spelled Lehto. But if you spell it close enough, you'll find me. I'm all over the place. And there's all my information, social media, and you'll find my website. And I got a lot of articles, but I talk a lot in videos about stuff. Yeah, you can answer all the questions you have.
Steve Lehto, we appreciate you being on the show. As always, you always have an open invitation. You can come on anytime you want. Anytime you've got something you want to talk about, you want to get it out to more people than you already talked to, you're welcome to come on.
I appreciate that, guys.
Todd, show's over.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
What do you mean the show's over? We're just getting started. We're going to give out yo-yo lessons so people can bring their yo-yos to the 1980s dance party.
I hate to break the news to you, man. We got to get
Not happening, huh?
No, not happening.
Okay. I'm not just a litigator. What do I say, Craig?
You're an advocator.
Take us out with some Morrissey. Suede Head. We'll see you next week.
The Todd L. Levitt Law Show, brought to you by Chad Malley-Well Drilling of Rosebush, Clark Modular Homes, your most experienced and trusted builder in Mount Pleasant, Clear Vision Windows, Siding, Roofing, and Attic Installation of Midland, Mackinac Properties and Northern Michigan Vacation Rentals, buying, selling, and renting properties in the Straits of Mackinac region since 1998, Tim's Collision Plus in Roscommon, Harrison Power Sports, Central Michigan's fastest-growing full-line Arctic Cat dealer, and Dr. Robert Townsend and Denali Healthcare for your alternative healthcare needs.
Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.